What is genre? I promise this isn't one of those video essays where they open with some dictionary definitions that have nothing to do with the point. I think genre is decided separately by the creator, the studio, and the public. It's not static or certain, and the labels can be manipulated. Something scary can be called either horror or thriller depending on who they're marketing it to. If a movie has a lot of criminals, it's called a mafia flick if they're Italian, a gangster flick if they're black, and just action if they're generic American guys. With The Materialists, it seems to me that writer-director Celine Song intends to toy with genre and our conceptions around them. If you don't know, The Materialists is the second feature film of originally playwright Celine Song, who incredibly debuted on the silver screen at the beginning of 2023 with Past Lives.
혜성! 와, 너다.
All them other niggas lame and you know it now. When a real nigga hold you down, you supposed to drown. Bam.
According to A24, Past Lives tells the story of Nora and Haesung, two deeply connected childhood friends, rest apart after Nora's family emigrates from South Korea. 2 decades later, they're reunited in New York for one fateful week as they confront notions of destiny, love, and the choices that make a life. Although the film uses Skype and plays with the unique situations spurred by modern interconnectivity and immigration between South Korea and the United States, it's a romance as classic as Casablanca. Film has long been interested in the temporary yet unending nature of romance. Characters often love and leave, but it remains with resolve, sometimes in a new state. It's sort of like how no matter what, Ben Affleck and J-Lo will get together and break up for all of time. And it's no surprise that a playwright with a deep appreciation of time and memory made this her first film. So it's at once a modern tale with classic structure, but you would be right in finding that this description isn't exactly accurate to the interplay of The Materialists.
Hey, are you single? I'm a matchmaker. Give me a call if you want to meet somebody.
All them other niggas lame and you know it now. When a real nigga hold you down, you supposed to drown. Bam.
In this film, Celine Song has a pretty simple message. Women have been sold capitalist propaganda under the guise of feminism, and it's ruined love. Now, I know these words might make you roll your eyes when they're coming from my mouth, but I'm really just interpreting her work here. Anyways, aside from that kind of disclaimer, the official synopsis is a young, ambitious New York City matchmaker finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. And that seems like it should be a goddamn Hallmark movie.
Don't have feelings for Christy Nora.
That's actually really important because the Hallmark movie is the epitome of how this type of film typically fails. The busy working woman chooses love in her small town during Christmas instead of her rich banker fiancé or whatever. It's pretty obvious that Hallmark is socially conservative. These films reify gender roles and insist on the incompatibility of a regular woman with the corporate structure. But under the illusion of a choice between the two men in the love triangle, they can appear quote-unquote feminist. In reality, although the decision is made by a woman, the autonomy is insufficient for it to be feminist. With The Materialists, however, both the socially conservative rom-com and the consumerist-inundated online feminism space collide. The workaholic trope now adopts a girl boss veneer. Even Dakota Johnson's co-worker is played by Dasha Nekrasova, one of the foremost Twitter personalities in the dirtbag left alternative politics world. If you don't know what that shit means or who Dasha is, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to add a layer to Song's commentary that the regular audience for this film is probably missing because they're likely chronically on TikTok rather than chronically on Twitter. Even the fear around love in a big city and the frightening potential of dating are explored when Dakota Johnson's character sets up one of her clients with a man who sexually assaults her. Song constantly and vehemently explains that putting yourself out there in dating is a scary proposition, not just because you're being vulnerable with another person and could come away broken, but because there are men out there actively trying to take advantage. These layers of Dakota Johnson's love story and her matchmaking job complicate the rom-com that you may have believed the film was going to be. Not with a straight genre switch to a slasher or a thriller, but through realism within the form of romance. Ultimately, rom-com tropes are used as tools to convey an underlying message that simultaneously violate and support the themes of traditional romantic comedies. Love is Encouraged by Celine Song is a protest to capitalism and the strength of the urban elite. The film is half as much about New York City itself as it is about love and class. To round this out, let's look at the opening of the film, a 2001 A Space Odyssey-esque flashback to early humans. In the prologue and epilogue to the film, the archetypal marriage, literally the first by early humans, sees a man who deeply deeply loves a woman, offer her a ring made of flowers to cement their love. Throughout the film, Dakota Johnson's matchmaker, Pedro Pascal's rich banker, and multiple other characters argue that since the beginning, marriage has just been a contract, a financial proposition, and so there's nothing wrong with viewing marriage in this cynical checkbox style. But Song reimagines the first marriage as two lovebirds before the hunter of capitalism shot an arrow through their hearts, not as backwards villagers trying to secure a dowry, but as cavemen who were far freer than we are today. In essence, there is value in the romantic comedy, in the classic stories of love, in Casablanca, and in marriage itself. Perhaps not for the precise reasons that those works posited, but for a modern reason. For a reason that rejects technology and corporate worship. For a reason that's no more complicated than love.